Adam walked into the airport like any other traveler, carrying a small bag and wearing simple clothes. No one around him knew that he was the real owner of the airline they were about to fly. He kept his head low and his face calm because he wanted to see the truth without fear changing how people behaved. For many months, Adam had been hearing reports that everything was fine inside the company. The numbers looked good and the managers smiled during meetings. But customer complaints kept rising in quiet corners of the internet. Adam felt something was wrong, and he trusted his instincts more than charts and papers. That was why he decided to fly like a normal passenger. The boarding gate was crowded with people holding tickets and phones. Some looked excited and some looked tired from long journeys. Adam stood in line and listened to the small sounds around him. He heard a child asking questions and a woman calming him softly. He saw an old man struggling with his bag while others looked away. No staff member rushed to help him, and Adam noticed that detail. It stayed in his mind longer than he expected. When it was his turn, Adam handed over his ticket with a polite smile. The staff member scanned it quickly without looking up. There was no greeting and no warmth in the voice. Adam felt a small sting, but he stayed quiet. He reminded himself that this was the reason he came. Inside the plane, the air felt heavy with routine. Passengers searched for seats and pushed bags into overhead space. Adam walked down the aisle slowly and counted the smiles he saw. There were very few. He reached his seat in the middle section and sat down carefully. The seat felt firm and slightly worn. He remembered a time when comfort was his top priority for this airline. As Adam settled in, he watched the flight attendants move up and down the aisle. Their faces looked tired and rushed. They followed instructions, but there was little kindness in their eyes. Adam did not blame them yet. He knew pressure often flowed downward from poor leadership. Behind him, two passengers sat down and adjusted their bags. Their voices were low but filled with emotion. At first Adam paid no attention. He looked at the safety card and the window beside him. Clouds floated outside like quiet thoughts. Then he heard a sentence that made his body still. "I cannot forget how they spoke to that woman at the counter," the female voice said. There was anger mixed with sadness in her tone. The man behind Adam replied with a tired sigh. "This airline is not what it used to be," he said. Adam did not turn around. He kept his eyes forward and listened carefully. The woman continued speaking, and her words cut deep. "My mother was crying and no one cared," she said. "They treated her like she was wasting their time," she added. Adam felt his chest tighten. He remembered his own mother and how she taught him respect. This airline was built with those same values in mind. Hearing this story felt like hearing about a broken promise. The man spoke again, and his voice sounded bitter. "They act like rules matter more than people now," he said. "I saw an old man asking for help and they ignored him," he added. Adam's hands slowly closed into fists. He placed them on his lap to hide the tension. This was not a single complaint. This was a pattern. The plane doors closed and the engine sound grew louder. The cabin lights dimmed slightly. Adam leaned back in his seat and breathed slowly. He reminded himself to stay calm and observe. Behind him, the woman lowered her voice even more. "I used to trust this airline with my family," she said. "My father said the owner cared about people," she added. Adam swallowed hard when he heard that. The man laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "Well, if he does care, he is not listening anymore," he said. Those words felt heavy. Adam felt them settle deep inside him. He had always believed that good intentions were enough. This moment told him they were not. The plane began to move along the runway. The vibration traveled through the seat and into Adam's body. He looked around at the faces of the passengers. Most stared at their phones or out the window. Some looked worried and some looked exhausted. Adam wondered how many silent stories were sitting around him. How many people had been hurt in small ways. How many moments of kindness had been replaced by cold rules. As the plane lifted into the sky, Adam felt a strange mix of pride and shame. Pride for what he had once built. Shame for what it seemed to be becoming. Behind him the voices went quiet. The passengers stopped talking and stared forward. But their words stayed alive in Adam's mind. He realized this flight was no longer just an observation. It was a wake-up call. Adam knew by the time the plane landed he would not be the same man who boarded it. This journey had only begun. The plane reached a steady height and the seatbelt sign turned off. Passengers slowly relaxed and some began to talk while others stayed quiet. Adam remained still in his seat and kept listening to the world around him. He felt like a guest inside his own creation. A flight attendant walked past offering water with a tired smile. When she reached Adam, she handed him a cup without making eye contact. Adam thanked her softly, but she was already moving away. He noticed how fast she walked, as if kindness was a delay she could not afford. Behind him, the two passengers began speaking again. Their voices were calmer now, but the pain in them remained. The woman spoke first, and her words were slow and careful. "My mother saved money for years for this trip," she said. "She wanted one peaceful journey," she added. The man responded with frustration in his tone. "They act like travelers are numbers, not people," he said. "They forgot the meaning of service," he added. Adam closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered long nights from years ago when he planned this airline. He remembered writing notes about warmth and dignity. He remembered telling his first team that every passenger mattered. The sound of food carts rolling down the aisle pulled him back. The smell of warm bread filled the cabin. A flight attendant stopped beside an elderly woman across the aisle. The woman asked a question in a soft voice. The attendant answered quickly without patience. Adam watched the elderly woman nod quietly. Her shoulders sank slightly. Adam felt something heavy settle in his heart. He leaned forward and spoke gently to the woman. "Would you like some help?" he asked. The woman looked surprised and smiled with relief. "Yes, thank you," she said. Adam helped her adjust her tray and thanked her for traveling. Her smile grew warmer and her eyes shined briefly. That moment told Adam everything he needed to know. Small kindness still mattered. Behind him, the woman passenger noticed what Adam did. She leaned closer to the man beside her. "At least someone still cares," she whispered. Adam pretended not to hear, but the words reached him clearly. They felt both comforting and painful. As the flight continued, Adam watched the staff more closely. He saw how rules controlled every move. He saw how fear of mistakes replaced natural care. He realized this was not cruelty. It was exhaustion and pressure. Adam began to understand the real problem. The system had forgotten the human side. Later the captain spoke through the speaker, welcoming everyone. The message sounded professional but distant. Adam remembered when captains used to speak with warmth. Another small change that had grown into a habit. The man behind Adam spoke again quietly. "I once met the owner at an event," he said. "He spoke about family and trust," he added. "I wonder where that man is now," he finished. Adam felt his throat tighten. He realized the man was talking about him. He stayed silent and let the words pass. The woman sighed softly. "People change when companies grow," she said. "They stop listening," she added. Adam shook his head slowly. He refused to accept that as truth. Growth should never silence values. The cabin lights dimmed slightly as people rested. Adam stared at the seat in front of him. He made quiet promises to himself. Promises he knew he must keep. He decided this would not be his only flight. This was only the beginning. A sudden voice broke the silence nearby. A young staff member spoke sharply to a passenger about luggage space. The passenger looked embarrassed and confused. Adam stood up calmly. He spoke in a steady and respectful tone. "There is a better way to say that," he said. The staff member froze for a second. Passengers nearby looked up. The staff member lowered her voice and nodded. "I am sorry," she said to the passenger. The tension eased slowly. Adam returned to his seat without another word. His heart beat fast. Not from fear but from clarity. Behind him the man whispered. "That took courage," he said. Adam smiled faintly to himself. He knew courage was not loud. It was consistent. As the plane continued forward, Adam looked out the window. The sky was wide and endless. He felt the same responsibility he felt years ago. He realized he had been absent too long. Trusting reports instead of people. Listening to numbers instead of voices. This flight had shown him the truth. The airline did not need new ads or slogans. It needed its heart back. Adam knew what he had to do next. But first he would finish this journey quietly. He would listen more. He would learn more. The landing was still far away. And so was the real change. The plane continued its journey through the quiet sky, and the cabin settled into a slow rhythm. Most passengers rested while some stared out of the windows lost in thought. Adam remained awake because his mind refused to slow down. Every sound and movement felt important to him now. He noticed a young mother a few rows ahead struggling to calm her child. The child was not loud but clearly uncomfortable. A flight attendant passed by without stopping. Adam waited for a moment hoping someone would help. No one did. Adam stood up again and walked carefully down the aisle. He knelt beside the mother and spoke gently. "Would some water help?" he asked. The mother looked surprised but nodded with gratitude. Adam signaled to a nearby attendant and politely requested water. This time the attendant paused and actually listened. She handed the water with a softer expression. The mother smiled and whispered thanks. As Adam returned to his seat, he felt eyes on him. People were watching him now. Not with suspicion but with curiosity. Behind him, the woman passenger spoke quietly again. "He does not act like a normal traveler," she said. The man replied thoughtfully. "No, he does not," he said. Adam sat down and faced forward. He knew attention was growing, but he stayed calm. He did not want praise. He wanted understanding. The meal service began shortly after. Trays moved from row to row. Adam watched how staff interacted with each passenger. Some moments were rushed and some were careless. A few were kind and sincere. Adam realized the team was divided. Some still carried the old values. Others were buried under stress and fear. He remembered meetings where managers spoke only about speed and cost. He remembered approving systems without seeing their impact. That realization hurt more than any complaint. The man behind him leaned forward slightly. "You seem different," he said quietly. Adam turned just enough to respond. "I believe people deserve respect," Adam said calmly. The man nodded slowly. "That used to be the soul of this airline," he said. Those words felt like a mirror. Adam looked into it, honestly. Later during the flight, turbulence shook the cabin lightly. Some passengers gasped and held their armrests. The seatbelt sign turned on quickly. A voice from the speaker instructed everyone to remain seated. Adam watched the faces around him. Fear was small but present. He saw how reassurance mattered in moments like this. A flight attendant spoke loudly and sharply, ordering people to sit. The tone increased tension instead of calming it. Adam stayed seated but spoke clearly and steady. "Everyone, please relax, we are safe," he said. His voice was calm and confident. Several passengers relaxed their shoulders. The cabin felt quieter. The flight attendant glanced at Adam with surprise. She said nothing but her tone softened afterward. Behind him, the woman whispered. "He sounds like a leader," she said. Adam heard it and felt a weight settle. Leadership was not a title. It was responsibility. As the turbulence passed, the plane returned to calm skies. The cabin lights adjusted again. A sense of relief spread slowly. Adam stared ahead, thinking deeply. He realized how far leadership had drifted from the cabin. Decisions were made in offices far from moments like this. He remembered his early days when he flew weekly, when he greeted staff by name, when he listened more than he spoke. The woman behind him spoke again softly. "I hope the owner someday hears these stories," she said. "He could change everything," she added. Adam closed his eyes briefly. He was hearing them now. Time passed slowly as the flight continued. People shifted in seats and stretched. Some conversations faded and others began. A young flight attendant approached Adam hesitantly. "Thank you for helping earlier," she said quietly. "We are under a lot of pressure," she added. Adam looked up and met her eyes. "I understand," he said. "But pressure should never erase kindness," he added. The attendant nodded slowly. "I wish management understood that," she said. Adam gave a small reassuring smile. "They will," he said calmly. She walked away looking thoughtful. Behind him the man exhaled deeply. "That was interesting," he said. Adam smiled faintly. "It was honest," he replied. As the plane began its descent, the captain announced arrival details. The voice sounded the same as before. Professional, but distant. Adam listened carefully. He imagined a different tone. One that carried warmth and pride. The ground slowly came closer outside the window. Cities appeared like patterns of light. Adam felt the weight of what was coming next. This flight would end soon. But the real work would begin afterward. He knew changes would not be easy. Systems would resist. People would doubt. But he also knew silence was no longer an option. Behind him the woman spoke one last time. "I hope someone fixes this," she said softly. Adam whispered under his breath. "I will," he said. The wheels touched the ground gently. Passengers leaned forward as the plane slowed. Adam felt steady and focused. He was no longer just observing. He was preparing to act. The doors would open soon. And with them a new chapter would begin. The plane slowed on the runway and the cabin filled with the soft sound of relief. Passengers reached for their bags and stood carefully in the aisle. Adam remained seated for a moment, longer watching everything around him. He saw tired faces mixed with hope. He saw staff moving quickly trying to finish another routine flight. But Adam knew this flight was not routine for him. When the seatbelt sign turned off, Adam stood and lifted his small bag. The two passengers behind him stood as well. The woman looked at Adam with curiosity and quiet respect. "You were different," she said softly. "You made this flight easier," she added. Adam turned and smiled kindly. "Thank you for speaking honestly," he said. The man nodded slowly. "Someone needed to hear us," he said. Adam met his eyes and replied calmly. "You were heard," he said. They did not fully understand his words yet. But something in his tone stayed with them. As Adam walked through the aisle, he thanked each crew member quietly. Some looked surprised. Some looked emotional. One young attendant lowered her head and smiled faintly. When Adam stepped out of the plane, the air felt lighter. The terminal was busy with movement and sound. But Adam walked with purpose and calm. He did not leave the airport right away. Instead he moved to a quiet corner and made a call. The person on the other end answered quickly. Adam spoke without anger but with strength. "Cancel my meetings for today," he said. "I need every department head tomorrow morning," he added. There was a pause. Then a nervous reply came through. "Yes, sir," the voice said. Adam ended the call and looked around. He saw travelers rushing and staff working hard. This was the heart of his airline. The next morning the main office was silent and tense. Managers filled the room waiting. No one knew why the sudden meeting was called. Adam entered without announcement. He wore the same calm expression from the flight. But his eyes were sharper now. He stood at the front and looked at everyone slowly. "I flew yesterday as a passenger," he said. Silence fell instantly. Faces froze. Some looked confused. Some looked afraid. "I listened," Adam continued. I watched, he added. And I learned, he said. He spoke about small moments. Cold greetings. Ignored passengers. Staff overwhelmed by pressure. No one interrupted him. This airline was built on respect, Adam said. And we have drifted, he added. A manager tried to speak, but Adam raised his hand gently. This is not about blame, Adam said. It is about responsibility, he added. He announced immediate changes. More staff support. Better training focused on care. Leaders required to fly monthly as passengers. The room shifted with surprise. You cannot lead what you do not experience, Adam said. Some managers nodded slowly. Others looked thoughtful. Adam finished with a steady voice. Our passengers trust us with their journeys, he said. We will earn that trust again, he added. The meeting ended quietly. But something had changed. Weeks passed and changes began to show. Staff greeted travelers with warmth. Supervisors walked the floor instead of hiding in offices. Adam continued flying quietly, listening and learning. One afternoon the same woman from the flight stood at a counter. This time she was greeted with a smile. Help arrived quickly. She felt something was different. Behind the scenes Adam watched from a distance. He smiled softly. The airline did not become perfect, but it became human again. Adam knew the journey would never truly end. But this time he was flying with his people, not above them.